I'm allowed to pay some of those bills. I appreciate all your support, and have a wonderful 2019.
I mean, at some point, Bryan, aren't you? I mean, is there some point where you get pissed off at God? I went through that. I mean, I went through that. I mean, at some point, do you go, what? When is enough enough? I mean, does that happen in 2018? Does that happen in? I mean,
you know, and I think we're going to talk about that just a little bit as well. You know, here I am on my third surgery. I had broken my neck once already before. Here's a second time. I'm being told I'm never going to walk a second time. That wasn't told to me on my thoracic vertebrae. But here's the thing. I had realized this. People who go immediately into why me? Why me? And it could be very, very easily that you could go there. Life is not easy. You're going to get knocked down to your knees. And it's not how many times you get knocked down. It's how many times you get up and say, I can walk through this. And what I realize is this. What was my responsibility in this? Now, a lot of people can't understand this. I drove down that street. When I tell people I had a little bit of to do with my second accident, and people go, whoa, 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 how can you do that? I said, because if I sit in, why me, God? Why now? My life is getting better. Why me now? Can't you give someone else a broken neck? Can't you? I mean, really? Sober, broken neck twice, broken back once? No. I realized when I went into who chose the street to drive down? I did. Who chose that profession? I did. And as a result of choosing that profession, I drove down that street. It allows me to move forward. It allows me to be stronger because I know this. God wants me to have an abundant life. God wants me to have a life of hope, my dreams, my aspirations, sharing my hope with someone else. So it allowed me to move forward.
I agree with that. I just feel like if we're going to be honest and real, right? Because and not that everybody has to curse God, because I don't think everybody gets that. Not everybody experiences that, right? Job didn't experience that. Job's like the perfect example of humility. But I feel like there's a lot of people out there that really struggle with their relationship with God because not that it's a victim mentality, because I definitely feel like when you're at a pain point where it's so much and you know that there's no relief in sight, you know it's not coming anytime soon. And we know now in retrospect, in healing and happiness and joy, we know that those trials are made to catapult us forward. They're made to strengthen us. They're made to help us help others. There's so many reasons why we go through trials, and there's so much good that we know that this is a vital part of life. But in these moments, even in I would never curse God now. I don't feel like it would. I feel like I'm definitely past the point where I'd ever curse God. I definitely know, I feel him for sure. I have a great relationship with God, but I feel like there are times when there are people that are at a pain point that is so overwhelming that they feel like, why am I being punished? Why me? And again, not from a victim standpoint, but this feels like a life sentence, right? Like, this is a life sentence. And why? Like, what did I do? For me, it was personal. For me, it was, why did I deserve this? And I went through my whole entire life inventory of every sin I ever committed, every promise to God I ever broken, throwing up over the porcelain bowl, praying to God to just not let me die of alcohol poisoning, right? And then I'm drinking it next weekend. But, that's the thing is, I feel like some people get there, not that you have to be there, but do you feel like there was ever a point, we get ourselves from victim mentality, but do you feel like there was a point when you're just like, when do I get to reap the benefits of the progress I'm making? When do I get to feel joy? When does it stop, God? When does it stop?
Well,
but it doesn't, does it? Really? Yeah. Trials always come. Growth always comes. I think.
I'll tell you on my side, Tanya, which is real interesting. I think when we talk about the pain, when we talk about the things that you are saying, I get to the point of, I remember when I was 17, and I remember when I broke my neck the first time. And I remember when I had that experience with God. When I look at not what happened to me, but what is happening for me. And what is happening for me, even at the age of 17 and here in 2001 when it happened, I realized that, yes, I'm in pain. Now, that is true. If I live in the pain, my attitude and my behaviors will reflect that. I don't feel as good. And I remember how to work past part of that was, what has God done for me? Because instead of cursing God, God, how could you do this? How could you be a part of me breaking my neck? How could you be a part of my accident? How can this happen to me? I started changing my dialogue. God, what have you done for me? Well, I realize this. I'm given a little more pain than most people, yes. And we still, I think, have 2 or 3 more of those things that we're talking about that moves forward, that my pain level has gotten worse and worse. But when I realized God had said to me, go down, impact, inspire, and empower people. He did not say, you shall walk with no pain to deliver my message. And if I truly think about that, the price that I am willing to pay, the price I was willing to pay, not only my football injury, but in my car accident, to walk out, be a survivor, to actually be walking, was, you're gonna hurt. Okay. If I focus on the hurt, I could very easily go into, why me? Isn't this enough? I choose this. God allowed me to walk. I have walked through now 3 spinal cord injuries at this time. Yes, I'm going to hurt. Is that the price I'm willing to pay to be alive? For me, it is. That allows me to move forward. Now, I know you said was it after my 18 or was it after my 19? I mean, we're only in 2001. I know in 2016, I was riding my dirt bike. And once again, I had a crash. I went to the hospital, and a doctor had told me I had broken my T11. And now you get to the point of, you're in a hospital, you've had 2 broken necks, now you've had 2 broken backs, and you've got a doctor not telling you you're going to walk, because I walked into the hospital. And again, you're going to have another body cast. And I think by this time, yeah, I kind of looked up in the sky and said, okay, God, this is real interesting, because I know this is for me. And I really get the point of, what is it for? Is it you're punishing me to see how much pain one can go through? Or are you telling me that the human spirit truly is capable of more than we ever thought? Because you're proving to me that I can be an impact. Through me, through your work, you are impacting me in a way that is allowing me to go out and inspire and empower people. Okay. So I got that on the 4th one. And I understand that I thought I was over. I wasn't, obviously, was I?
Nope, because then you have another surgery.
Yeah.
In 2018.
2018. And 2018, again, I had been speaking. My speaking career was still going very, very well. I know that I had done my classes back to basics. I was speaking in schools. Things were going very, very well. I sold another couple companies. And 2018 in September, I remember I was driving down the street, and I felt like I was having a heart attack. And I remember I was dating a gal, and I called her, and she said, well, you better go over to St. Luke's. And went there. I was having numbness. I realized that I felt something was wrong. And they did all their x-rays. I had no issues with my heart, and no issues with my lungs, but they had found out that because of previous work, that I was slowly again becoming paralyzed. I was having slight paralysis in my left hand. I wasn't able to feel things. And I realized when they told me that my seventh vertebrae was crumbling, that I needed to see a surgeon, a neurosurgeon. Once again, instead of going down to, okay, God, it was like, what is going on? I think there was a little more concern. And yet, still living in the mentality ever since my first accident, which was never give up on yourself, Bryan, never give up on yourself. And I had found out that they were going to have to replace a disc because I had so much crumbling of the seventh vertebrae. And again, this time they decided to go in front on my other side. And by now, the concern was there. I was not, okay, God, I was not mad, not angry. I realized this was now the third time I was going in my neck, and I was more concerned about that. I was a lot scared, and I've always been close to God ever since the first time I broke my neck and before that. But now I was questioning God, not why me. It was kind of like, how many times can a surgeon, can we allow another human being to go into an area to actually fix me? I decided on the 18th of October and 18, I was going to have or 28th of October, I was going to have surgery. I knew going in with a never give up on yourself mentality was very, very ingrained in me. And the reason why was all the surgeries I had been through. They didn't know I was going to make it out of this one. They said because of the hardware, that it was going to be even harder to put in a disc. And they were going to have to surgically insert a disc to tilt my head backwards a little bit because I was coming forward. And yet they had to screw it into an area where I had already had screws. Once again, the dedication, perseverance, and attitude was the only thing that was going to get me through. And I did get through it. I came out of the operation in 3 days. They had never seen anybody ever with as much hardware as I had had. The doctor had to consult with a number of doctors. And when I walked out in 3 days, I was still wearing a neck brace. I knew that things had changed. I knew that I still had to keep my attitude. More importantly, I had to be committed to the process because I had been through this so many times. And I had decided, where can this help somebody in their life? And I came up with this. We are given so many things in our life right now. As we film and talk on this podcast, we could talk about COVID. We could talk about kids not going to school. We could talk about people losing their jobs. We could talk about not having food. We can talk about trying to lose weight. We can talk about trying to see our family. The human spirit can overcome so many obstacles with your mindset if you truly believe. And belief is not knowing the outcome for results that are not seen yet.
Faith.
Faith.
Mm-hmm.
Faith.
We talked a little bit about God before, because I also want to say that even though I've been there, and now, I can't ever imagine denying or being upset with God, or because he's so present in my life, and there's so many blessings that I feel like come from him. But I feel like part of that, and you had kind of touched on it earlier, is gratitude and being grateful for all the things and being aware of all the things that he blesses us with. I can tell you that in my own personal healing, that a lot of that came from being aware of everything I was grateful for, starting with the fact that I had 2 children that were in the car with Talon when it rolled that were here, right? So even though the loss of my son is devastating, I was forced to start looking at the things that it could have been so much worse that day. I could have been mourning the death of 3 kids and not just 1. And so you have to start. And then, you know, my son is in the best place ever, you know, the happiest. He's feeling euphoria that I have my own euphoria. I can't imagine what he's feeling. You know, he's not in a physical body. He's probably like, I mean, I just can't even imagine how much peace and joy he must be having. And so that's a blessing, right? These are the gratitude things that we start thinking about, the blessings and our God-given, the things that he does bless us with. And starting to have the grateful mind of how does the trials bless us, right? Because again, on the extreme side of pain, the loss of my son, I've got to experience euphoria that I've never, ever felt before. It's this constant high that's just freaking amazing, you know, and that's special. And I know that's from God, and it's amazing. So yes, you know, those gratitude in healing, gratitude in trials, gratitude in trauma, finding those blessings amidst the things that feel like devastating is what gets us through. You know, there's so much to be grateful for.
There is, and you know, when you talk about talent, I think when you ask about, okay, did you ever get to that point of God, enough is enough? Why me? What's going on? So when I had my third surgery and I had that in October, and that was October 28th. So, and gotten out, and I remember on Christmas Eve that we received a phone call. My dad was not feeling good. Now, I'm still wearing a neck brace. I'm still trying to recover. And I remember my dad, we had some tests taken from him, and the doctor had called me because he couldn't reach my dad. And on Christmas Eve of 2018, we were told my dad had stage lung 4 cancer. And when you talk about, okay, God, why enough? And I think, yeah, my anger, I think the part of, you know, I've been through all that I've been through in my medical side. I remember my dad was a fairly healthy guy and lived up here in Boise. And I tell you what, when I found that out, I started to question certain things. You know, why now? Why are you going to take someone away from me? Why are you going to take the one person, the family member that's around me the most? Why are you going to take him away from me? And I did get to the point where I was questioning God's decisions, and that's not right for me. It's really to be grateful for what the opportunity that I was given. Now, not being fully recovered whatsoever, when my dad found out that he had cancer, I had to become his caretaker. And I remember going over there every day and sitting with him. And when my dad passed away, and he passed away in June of 2019, I remember a couple things had happened, because when I was asking God, why are you taking something away from me? I realized what I was being grateful for was he was giving me an opportunity to spend more time with my dad that I wasn't doing in his life when he was alive. And when you go through what you go through, you find grateful things. When Talon died, because it was so quick, it was so sudden, it was complete. I had 9.5 months of watching my dad die. And although there were times to not find the grateful side of it, because if you've ever watched someone die of cancer, it's a really ugly disease.
Mm-hmm.
But I learned to be grateful for the things that I was given, to cook for my dad every day.
Mm-hmm.
And I was grateful for the times when we just sat and talked and just BS'd as father and son that we hadn't done for years. And it gives you an opportunity to, you know, when they say live your life like it's the last day, I got to do 9.5 months of that where you didn't. And
But
so, go ahead.
I was just going to say, but I got a lot of God nudges that I listened to. And because of those, like, you know, I got to spend 3 months on a couch with my son where we got to bond, and he was able to speak publicly because of a God nudge. And I mean, I listened to a lot of things. I got a second chance with Talon. He went up to a garage to jump and end his life, and God sent an angel. So I have to believe that that right there was a blessing. He gave me not only another year and a half with my son, but he gave him a legacy on top of that. It wasn't, I kind of did get a warning. I wasn't expecting him to pass, but I almost lost him a year and a half before that. And because of that, I got a new appreciation, and he got a new appreciation, and he lived that last year and a half of his life like a badass, and he was amazing. And we did a lot of bonding, and his legacy was left because of the God nudges. And if it wasn't for God, he would not have been able to leave that legacy. And so I am so grateful for that blessing. God is so good. No doubt about it. God is good, and make no mistake about it. It is his world, and we are just instruments here to do his work. And there's no doubt about that to me. So
we are, and you're absolutely right. And everything is in God's time, which is, we like to think that we have control over everything, and this kind of leads to.
It's funny, isn't it? We control nothing.
we don't.
Only our reactions to how life happens.
I think when one of the gifts, and I've been given so many with people like you in my life, and I've been given so many through God and the grateful things. And I remember, it's funny, as I sit here and I'm thinking about my book that I had out. What's interesting was this. I
have it too right here.
This book was originally supposed to come out, and I had this idea. Anybody who's been through this and have overcome a certain amount of these obstacles, I thought, you know what? I got to write a book about this, because if I can overcome it, anybody can overcome it. And it's been in the works for a while, and it's kind of funny because when I wanted control of, okay, heck, I've been through 3 neck operations, 2 back, breaking my back. That's 5 times. And I went, you know what? I think that's awesome. Let's write a book. Let's get it out. And you know what? God has that wonderful way of going, really? You still think you're in control? It's kind of like, think, no.
Like when your dad hits you so hard on the head that when they take their finger away, you can still feel it tapping you on the head. God does that sometimes, right?
Yes.
And you can still feel the tap, tap, tap because it's so hard. Are you paying attention yet?
Well, I was when Dad had passed. And here was the interesting thing where I realized that the questions I had when Dad was going through the cancer were all answered. And we all get our answers in the time we're supposed to get them, which was really interesting. I knew that my dad went into the hospital, and again, I remember that I told him that I was going to have surgery. And when I told him that, we realized that I was not going to be able to take care of him. And so that was one of the blessings. I knew that my sister wanted to come up, and she got up before he passed away. My dad was writing a book. I have a good friend that both you and I know, Ronnie Ketchum, who helped him finish his book. And I remember that my dad didn't want to be into a nursing home. And so I remember when my dad died, the day that he died, I remember my sister and I were looking at a nursing home. We got a call that he'd passed. 3 days prior to that, Ronnie had helped him finish his book. My sister made it up, and I told my dad 2 days before that I wasn't going to be able to take care of him. It was just that look that I knew that I didn't have to worry about it. And the reason why was because we had found out through all this, I was still having problems with my neck. I was still having pain. And they had agreed that I had to put and go in for another surgery, a 4th neck surgery. And my dad passed on the 19th. And I remember that night when my sister and I were sitting alone in my dad's place. And he said, I think God had a handle on this, where you don't have to worry about Dad. You get couple months to go in and actually have your surgery, and you can concentrate on what you need to get through. And And the greatest part about it was this time when the doctors had told me 4 neck surgeries, this is now raising to the level of not only miracles, but medical history, connecting all the things that I've had in my neck to allow me to walk out. And my dad had gone. It happened in perfect timing. And I remember when I spread my dad's ashes at Redfish Lake, I remember God saying that it's your time. Everything that is happening right now is in divine order.
But that feels good.
It does.
So where are you at now? So what's transpired since then? Where I saw something in your book that said overcoming fears. Every fear is an opportunity for growth.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what I'm doing now is I have switched, and COVID-19 has been a wonderful, a lot of people say it's been a terrible year. Well, I like to look at every obstacle as an opportunity. Here you and I are talking on computers, not in the same room. We're doing a podcast, and there might be a chance where, had we not gone through 2020, we may have been in the same room actually doing this interview. I know with me, I had revamped and yet still hard to do classes when we can't get together. And so we're still working on that. And I've done some work digitally online with one-on-one with clients with a couple people. I transpired my company to go back where all this started to give back to kids, and which led me basically to book number 2. And book number 2 was I Am. And I wrote that, and I did that for this reason, that I realized that every fear that I had, that anybody has, is an opportunity for growth. Okay, so there's a solution. Today, you and I had a little bit of an issue when we were trying to get on earlier on the day. And when I said, give me 15 minutes, the sweat, things were coming down. I was like, oh my gosh. It's like, okay, God, like, this is a fear of mine. Technology's not working.
Seeing on my end, I was like, totally fine, cool. Let me know when it gets up. Like, I have no agenda. So.
It was one of those things where, okay, the fear of mine is not knowing enough technology to switch at a drop of a hat. And yet, every bit of that fear I realize is, okay, Bryan, stop, breathe. There's a solution to everything out there. When an obstacle comes up, there's a solution for it. If you think back to Thomas Edison, you and I are sitting in, and if we look at these things over us, they're called lights. Do you know how many tries it took Thomas Edison to create the light bulb?
I'm sure at least 1,000.
Over 1,000.
Yeah.
And
I read that.
Yeah. Now imagine if Thomas Edison said, you know,
after 100 times.
Yep, I've tried this 646 times. It's not going to happen. No. The fear that he was not able to create that allowed him to clear his mind and create an opportunity. The solution was there. It's about clearing your mind all the way back to, again, the basics. Yeah. I have done X, Y, and Z. Now I need to go back to A, B, and C. What is the opportunity for growth here? Today, I figured out, I think it probably took about 15 minutes, but we figured out how to get back online and conduct this interview. And that allowed me, after I had my 4th neck surgery, allowed me to, I was ready to go as of March 2020. I was down in Utah ready to speak in front of 25,000 kids.
Wow.
And my aunt turns to me and she says, are you still doing your conference? And I said, why? And she was like, the governor has canceled everything.
Oh, no.
So it did cancel it. And yet, driving home from Salt Lake City was all about fear, but creating opportunity. If I can't speak live to people, how can I create growth in my life so I can reach the people I want to reach, which is the high school students? I want to talk about bullying. I want to talk about self-image. I want to talk about drugs. I want to talk about motivation and trust and anxiety. And cyber interaction. And these are all things that I want to talk about. And we know if you're in front of a person, it's better live, but that's what I did. I created the opportunity. So now I have my keynote speech, which is overcoming obstacles with intention, down to digitally mastered, done professionally. And so now anybody that wants to hear a 1-hour keynote speech can actually get it from me, and I can be in front of someone's computer with actually out being in front of them.
Is that going to be on the http://thenextstepseminars.com/videos/?
That's good. And actually, yes, if you go to my website.
It's actually scrolling on the ticker at the bottom. I have all 3 of your websites there.
It is. So I direct, and I'm sure Tawnia will put that up there, which is thenextstepseminars.com. And I've got about Bryan, I've got my books, and I've got my videos. So on that, you're going to be able to scroll through my website. And at the bottom of my website, you can see my keynote speech, which is for purchase. It is significantly brought down so people can access it a little bit more. But again, that rolls through my website. What you'll find out is you can discover more about me on my website and about Bryan and about my story. My books, you can get a copy. It'll link you right through Amazon, Books to Read. And the videos gives you some information about my YouTube page that I use not only for schools, I use them for corporations, organizations, and nonprofits.
Bryan, you're awesome. So when we share our stories, we give other people hope. And when I think about, almost every single guest that I think I've had on here has written a book. It's really kind of like I feel like it's kind of like a manual, right? The people that are survivors, the people that are thriving after trauma, thriving after hardship, thriving after loss of hope and despair. The one thing that I feel like they have in common is, their mindset, their gratitude, where are they putting their thoughts? Where are they placing their energy? And so when we write books, right, this is a manual. These are my trials. These are my pain points. And I'm telling you how I got past them. You are a light of hope to so many people, Bryan. I think it's tremendous that you've been through what you've been through and that you still continue to shine and you still continue to inspire and encourage people. And we definitely need more people like you in the world. Thank you for being on Hope Brokers. Thank you for being a Hope Broker. I wanted to just share one last quote. I found this in your book. Actually, I have one of yours as well. I'll actually end with your quote. But this one says, "Today I was clever, so today I wanted to change the world. Today I'm wise, so I am changing myself." Rumi. This is so true. I think the biggest lesson I learned in life this year, right? It's all about perspective. But it all starts with us. It all starts with our attitude, our words. How are we putting ourselves out there? And one of the biggest things I've done intentionally this year is I've really, really tried to stay clear of using any kind of divisive posts, words, or terminology. If we are really, truly about being united again, we have to be intentional about the words that we use. We have to be intentional about what we put out there. And anytime we are dividing each other, we are not creating love and unity. And so with that being said, we have to start with ourselves. If we're going to change the world together, we have to start with our intentions and our heart. And we have to communicate. My mom said something really powerful the other day, and she said, "Bring love to the fight." And I thought that's so powerful because so many of us are so passionate. We're so sensitive. We're so passionate about the way we feel that there's a lot of angst and there's a lot of feelings and there's a lot of, I think, sometimes just anger because we just want people to understand us. But when we bring love to that passion, when we bring understanding and compassion and empathy and peace and a want and a desire to understand each other and love, truly bring love to the fight, we can accomplish so much more, but it does start with us, right?
Absolutely. 100%.
Your quote is this: "Leadership is not given or bestowed upon you. It is earned by the services you render mankind." And I think that also is powerful, because a lot of what I feel like Hope Brokers is about is also paying forward, not just sharing our stories, but how do we now give back to our community? How now do we pay forward the blessings that have been given to us? When we go through trauma and trials and tragedy, how much of our community has stepped up to help us? I mean, I think we have such a powerful community, and I can say that about, I believe this community is freaking amazing. I love our community, and I feel like, we are so blessed, and it's because we do service to our fellow men. So
we do. And I'm going to follow up on this, Tawnia, which is this. You and I hang around leaders, and I have always thought of you as a leader, not because someone has called you a leader. It's not based on what has been bestowed on you, whether it be by family, friends, relatives, business people. Where I feel you are the leader, and has always been a leader to me, is what you are giving to mankind. The services that you are rendering is exactly what you're doing with Hope Brokers right now, is giving back to people, to give them hope, to take that next step, to give them hope that there is so much more, that I have been through that. And by the guests that you bring on, you give someone who has been down that road just that one more thing to mankind that says, let me introduce you to someone that has been where you are. And maybe, just maybe, they might say something that allows you to move forward in your life. And that's what you're doing. And that's why you're a leader, Tawnia.
Thank you. And it really is about that. It's about when I lost talent, I honestly didn't know how I was going to make it through, because all I felt was despair. There was nothing that was going to bring me any kind of happiness. And I couldn't imagine a world that would ever have joy in it again. I really couldn't. I didn't think that was possible until I think this, my aunt actually had lost a child 9 months earlier. And she had sent me a message one day, and she said, I can honestly say I'm truly happy with my life. And at the moment I was so offended. I was offended that you can be happy after you lose a child. Like, that was so offensive to my senses. But at the same time, it gave me hope. It was the first time I actually had hope that there was going to somewhere be joy again. And that was huge. So thank you for sharing that, because I do believe that we share stories so that other people know you're not alone. And two, here's what I did to survive. And if I can do it, I believe you can do it. I believe that you can do it. And I'm here to tell you that I'm here to support you, and I believe that you can do it. Anyways, yes, thank you. Thank you, Bryan, for being a guest. It's been so enlightening. It's been fun. It's been a good conversation. I think we have so much stuff here. It's going to be a 2-part episode.
That's awesome. And remember, never give up on yourself.
Never give up on yourself. I love that. Yes, and that's definitely yours too. Isn't it on your book? Yeah, it's right on the very front cover.
It is. It's on my bracelets.
Oh yeah, I'm wearing one. I forgot to. So you dropped some off for me.
I did. Never give up on yourself.
Yeah. So anybody that orders any shirts from me, I'm going to throw some of these in there for you. These are Bryan Campbell's. They're bracelets, just to remember. Again, I am a firm believer in the power of words. So wearing this on your wrist, wearing the power of words I think is powerful. I think it gives you positive energy. So thank you for dropping those off. Thank you for the books. Thank you. And again, thank you for being a guest, Bryan. I appreciate everything you've done. I will never forget you showing up at my door, ready to clean my car without charging me when I just lost talent. I just needed my car detailed, and Bryan shows up, and I'm sure you probably were out there for 3 or 4 hours detailing my car and didn't even charge me for it. I'm forever grateful. I hope that God blesses you tenfold. I hope that you are extremely blessed and successful in every aspect of your life. Thank you for allowing me to be part of your journey and for, again, all of the kindness that you've shown me, Bryan. I appreciate your love and your friendship.
Thank you.